Hello, welcome to another episode of our live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. My name is Hussein. Hope you're having a good day. Um, Hope you guys had a good day. And I just kind of want to continue along the same trajectory of what we were talking about yesterday. Yesterday, we were talking about why the Quran of Abdullah bin Mas'ud had three fewer surahs than Uthman's Quran. Uthman's Quran has 114 surahs. Abdullah bin Mas'ud had 111. He didn't have the first one, the 113th or the 114th. And so, that's a well-known fact, and it's devastating to those who believe in the perfect preservation of the Quran. And it was interesting to look at all the excuses they gave about why this is the case and why it's okay. If the Quran is perfectly preserved, then how could the number one reciter, how could he have three surahs less than Uthman's Uthman's Quran? So, and today, we're going to look at someone who is the opposite. Whereas Abdullah bin Mas'ud took away surahs, he had 111 compared to the 114. Ubay Ibn Kaab had two extra surahs. So he had 116 surahs in his Quran. And so, and Muhammad said to take the Quran from four people: Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Mu'ad, Salim, and Ubay ibn Kaab. So Ubay ibn Kaab is like one of the top guys. And in fact, he's called the, see if I have it here. Let me look here. Just 1 second here. He's called, oh, you know what I did? Yeah, he's called the Prince of the Qadis. He's the number one. This is what Muhammad called them, the Prince of the Qadis. Qadi meaning the people who memorize the Quran. And so, and yet he had two more surahs, and he didn't take them off. He left them in the Quran. And so, anyway, I'm just wanting to look at, some different things about what they're saying about why this is the case and why this is okay. Why is this okay? I mean, the Quran is supposed to be perfectly preserved from the eternal tablet in heaven, and yet they have these inconsistencies. So anyway, I just wanted to look a little bit about what this, why this is. So I did have here, you know what? I need to just 1 second here, because I have a few things that I wanted to, a few slides that I did not transfer that I want to transfer. Well, let's just go ahead and go with this right now. Okay. The number of surahs in the Mishaf of Ubay ibn Kaab is one of the top 10 arguments of Orientalists and Christians against the perfect preservation of the Quran. It is said that Ubay's Mus'haf, you guys, means the book, the Quran, had two additional surahs. And critics make use of such statements, arguing against the unanimity of the earliest Muslims on the Quran's content. Well, you would seem it seems like that would be a very logical conclusion if everybody has this perfectly preserved book with 114 surahs, and then one of the top reciters of the Quran has it with 116. That's a good argument against perfect preservation. Okay, and it's a good argument for inconsistency, for confusion, and it just is a catastrophe. Again, to use the word, it's a catastrophe for the belief in one perfect Quran. It's a total catastrophe. It completely destroys the belief that there's one perfect Quran. Because how is it that everybody has 114 surahs, and yet the top guy, Ubay Ibn Kaab, who's called, let me just look real quickly here. I just want to tell you exactly what. Okay, Ubay. He was called Sayyid al-Qura, the master of the reciters. Okay, he's known, Ubay ibn Kaab, one of the four, which was singled out by Muhammad. Muhammad himself singled them out. He was considered the best reciter of Quran. He was known as Sayyid al-Qura, the master of the reciters. Umar bin Khattab said that he was the best. He said Ubay ibn Kaab was the best reciter. So, I mean, this guy was, very important. And, there was a story, and I think you guys probably know about it. And the story is that Ubay was a total passionate, gung-ho, Muslim. And one day he went to the mosque and he was praying one of the surahs. And as he was reciting the surah, a Muslim guy next to him was also reciting it, but he was reciting it differently from the way Ubay was reciting it. Ubay was furious. He grabbed the guy and took him to Muhammad and said, "Listen, Muhammad, look what he's doing. Look at what he's doing. This is disgusting. He's changing the Quran." And so Muhammad said to the guy, that he brought, he says, "Okay, recite the surah." No. First of all, he told Ubay, "You recite the surah." And Ubay recited it. And Muhammad said, "That's absolutely right, what you just said." And then he said to the other guy, "Go ahead and recite it." And the guy recited it, and he recited it differently. And Muhammad said, "And you're right." You're right, even though they recited it differently. And when he said to that guy, "You're right, both of them are right," Ubay ibn Kaab said, "Dude, what the heck are you talking about? How could we both be right when we're reciting it differently?" Because Muhammad had pounded them with the fact that the Quran is perfect and Allah preserved it and it's exactly the same and there's only one and Jibreel brought it and the perfect tablet and all this stuff. And he said, "How could this be?" And it says, "Ushak dakhal fiyya" in Arabic. He said, doubt entered his heart. He was hit with doubt. A big doubt bomb entered his heart. And he said he never felt doubt like that since the days of the Jahiliyyah, the days before Islam. He was devastated. He was devastated. And he said, "How could there be two?" And then Muhammad came up with this crazy theory, explanation. He said, "Yeah, the Quran came in 7 different ahruf. Ahruf means modes. And but Ubay ibn Kaab was totally devastated by this. He doubted. And then Muhammad came to him, and Muhammad did to him in order to drive the doubt out of him. It says he punched him in the chest. He punched him in the chest so hard, I think it says in one of them that the sweat just jumped off his face. It was such a powerful, like when he hit Aisha. Remember when he hit his wife Aisha? Well, he hit Ubay, and I don't know. Why did Muhammad hit him like that? Could it be that Muhammad was trying to threaten him? Like, don't go make a problem of this because you know what's going to happen to you. Or, what could possibly be Muhammad's motivation to hit him like this? And so, welcome, Confessing Jesus Christ. God bless you. Welcome, Andrew Martin. Yes. So, anyway, well, it makes me wonder, you guys. This is just a crazy theory. When Uthman came up with his Quran and he burned all the others, that, Ubay Ibn Kaab and Abdullah bin Mas'ud, they didn't give their Qurans to Uthman. Okay. They said, no, we're going to keep ours. Well, in keeping them, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, at least I know he got beat up, and I think they broke his hip, for keeping his, which had 111 surahs. Well, Ubay ibn Kaab, his had 116 surahs. And so but he refused. Yeah, I mean, he helped Zayd in the writing of the Quran. He did everything, but he did not take these 2 extra surahs out of the Quran. So his Quran had 116 surahs. You guys, this is, I know you guys have heard this before, but it is so devastating to the whole theory of Islam, of the perfect preservation of the Quran. This destroys the perfect preservation of the Quran. The 2 most respected men, Abdullah and Ubay, both of them had different Qurans, different from Uthman's Quran. And so, it was, so they have to come up with an explanation. So let's look at some of their explanations, okay? Okay, the narrations. Arguments sprout from the narrations quoted in the well-known as by Jalaluddin Suyuti, Al-Ittiqan by Suyuti. About discussing the number of surahs, he says, the Mus'haf of Ubay, there were 116 surahs, for towards the end of it, he had written the surahs Haft and Khal. Okay, so those are the names of the 2 surahs that Ubay ibn Kaab had in his Quran. In the regular Quran, the last 2 surahs are Al-Falaq and Nas, which are 2 like magic spells to break the magic off of Muhammad. But in Ubay ibn Kaab's, there was these other 2. One is called Al-Haft, not Haft like the Quran, but Hafd and Khal. And I don't know exactly Khal. Khal usually means like uncle, like, your mother's brother. Your father's brother in Arabic is called Ammi. But your mother's brother is called Khali. And so I don't know if that's what it means, Khal. And Hafd is kind of like preservation or keeping. So wording of the alleged surahs. Suyuti has himself recorded the wording of the alleged surahs. Okay, so this is one of the surahs, what it says. O Allah, we beg help from you alone, ask forgiveness from you alone, praise you, and are not ungrateful to you, and we part and break off with all those who are disobedient to you. O Allah, you alone do we worship and pray exclusively. So this is the content of one of those surahs. Okay. And in the Mus'haf of Ubay, there were 160. Okay. Written in the text of Ubay's Ibn Kaab were the Fath al-Kitab, the opening of the surah. And, okay, that's the Fatiha. which Abdullah bin Mas'ud did not have, and the Mu'azzatain, which is 113 and 114, which Abdullah bin Mas'ud did not have, and Allahumma oh Allah, we seek your help. That's one of these surahs, okay? And okay. All right, the reality of the alleged surahs. Okay, now there's a story behind these two surahs. I mean, they're not just out of nowhere, okay? These words dubbed as surahs are actually supplications. I mean, that they're prayers that were taught by Muhammad, who they were taught to Muhammad by Jibreel, supposedly. Okay, Al-Bayhaqi records that Khalid bin Abi Imran narrated, while the Messenger of Allah was supplicating against the Mudhar, that's a group of people, Gabriel came to him and signaled him to remain silent. So he became silent. Okay. All right. And Jibreel said to Muhammad, Allah has not sent you to disparage or condemn. Rather, he has sent you as a mercy. And boy, was he a mercy. And he has not sent you to bring torment. Not for you is the decision whether he should cut them down or forgive them or punish them. Or indeed, they are wrongdoers. Then he taught them this supplication. Oh, Allah, we beg. So that surah, Al-Hafd, okay, came from what Jibreel supposedly taught Muhammad. So that surah, Al-Hafd, the reason it's in Ubay Ibn Kaab's Quran is because they actually did pray this. And Muhammad said that Jibreel taught it to him the same way he taught him, supposedly, the rest of the Quran. Okay? Apparently, the Prophet was praying against the Mudhar with strong words, asking for the torment in their favor. So Allah reprimanded him with these words. Okay, and so let's see this. So why repeat it in the ritual prayers? One may, however, like to point out the narrations that say that the companions recited these words in the prayers itself. Okay, so these prayers, that they were known. Okay, Muhammad, supposedly, taught them to his companions. Excuse me. Okay, so they're not just empty words or something, but they actually were. Muhammad actually taught it to the companions. The narrations quoted by Asyuti show that Omar, Ubay, and Abu Musa used to supplicate or pray using these words in their prayers. The truth simply is that Islamic juristic law, in light of the prophetic example, sanctions these supplications to be made in the regular ritual salah itself. So therefore, we find many of the companions using these prayers. This extra supplication is done on a daily basis in the last rak'ah, or kneeling, or witr, in the night prayer, and in times of confrontation with the enemy, even the Fajr prayer sometimes. Okay, so they're saying that these were prayers Muhammad supposedly got from Jibreel, and he taught the companions, and they were using them. Okay, so by Allah, these two were revealed from the heavens. We have already seen the precise information how these words were taught by Jibreel. This is to highlight the reason for the companions' preference of these words as kunut, supplication, and fajr prayers. The simple fact explains all the narrations about companions and their students reciting these words in prayers. Okay, so they're saying, you guys, see, it's just perfect. These came from Jibreel. They were from the, just like the rest of the Quran. Muhammad did recite them, and he taught them, and some of the biggest names on the Islamic you know, um, a roster, Umar bin Khattab, Abu Musa, all of them, and Ubay, they all used to pray these prayers. So they're saying, see, I mean, these are not just happenstance, or, they actually have a reason for putting these words in the Quran. Okay, but you guys, we got to keep in mind that they say the Quran is perfect. It is one thing we said yesterday is that, one guy said that if you reject one letter from the Quran, you've rejected the whole thing. Well, what if you add, you see, yesterday, the big deal with Abdullah bin Mas'ud is he took off words, he took off surahs, whole surahs, 3 whole surahs, he deleted them, just erased them from the Quran. Okay. Well, Ubay Ibn Kaab, his problem is the opposite. He added a bunch of words to the Quran. He added a bunch of words to the Quran, and he's still the prince, or the most respected qari, the top memorizer of Quran, and yet in his Quran he put these extra 2 surahs. And so, what are they trying to do? They're trying to say, see, but these surahs are not just additional words. They are, these are actual prayers that Muhammad actually taught, his followers. Well, that's great that he taught to his followers, but then why did nobody else put them in their Quran? Why did the final Quran not have them? And which Quran is the right one? One letter makes you a kafir. One letter makes you a kafir. What if you add 2 whole surahs to the Quran? Does that not make you a kafir? And let me see. I have a picture of the surahs here. Let me see if I could turn it this way. Okay. I'm sorry I don't have the I know it's Arabic, it's not going to mean anything to you, but these are the two surahs, okay? One of them is called the haste, and the other is called the separation. Okay, they're very short, and they're both like prayers. They're like prayers, which is similar to the Fatiha. The Fatiha is also a prayer. And so these are prayers, and yet in Ubay ibn Kaab's Quran, they are surahs, just like the Fatiha. Okay, and Abdullah bin Mas'ud didn't have them, but Abdullah bin Mas'ud and Ubay ibn Kaab, they kind of used to encourage one another along their own rebellious paths, because they refused to change their Quran when Uthman came up with his Quran and burned all the others. They refused to surrender theirs, and so it tells you guys something is very squirrely here. This is extremely squirrely and extremely devastating. Extremely devastating to the Muslim belief that the Quran is perfect, perfectly preserved, just like Allah sent it down, just like the angel brought it to Muhammad and said it to the companion. This is totally devastating, because this is saying, wait a minute, how could this guy have all these extra students that nobody else had? So anyway, let's continue looking at some of this on 74. Okay. 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 Hussein said he offered prayers behind Uthman bin Ziyad. After the prayers, Uthman bin Ziyad told him that he supplicated with these words and then pronounced, كذا كان يصنع عمر بن الخطاب وعثمان بن Affan. Okay, he said that Umar bin Khattab used to pray this way, and so did Uthman bin Affan. Uthman bin Affan, you guys, is the guy who wrote the Quran that Muslims have now. He's the third caliph who burned all the Qurans. And yet, Uthman supposedly used these two prayers in his prayers. So they're trying to justify them, okay? All right. This seals the deal. Uthman bin Affan himself recited these words in the prayers, and yet we do not find them in the manuscripts prepared under his authority. Is it not enough of evidence that merely recitation in the prayers does not mean the companions considered it a part of the Quran, as already shown? Okay, you guys, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth with this. Why? Because they are stuck in this is a massive disaster. This is a massive disaster. And so they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth. It says, isn't it enough to show, to show that it, but the fact is the number one Qari, the master of reciters, said this belongs in the Quran, and it's not in your Quran today. It's not in any of the Qurans today. The Hafs, the Warsh, the Susi, the Duri, the Khalaf, the Bezi, all the other ones, okay? None of them have it. And but Ubay Ibn Kaab did. And Muhammad said, take the Quran from Ubay. Muhammad, it's interesting. You know what Muhammad never said? Muhammad said lots of things. But one thing Muhammad never said, you guys are ready for something Muhammad never said? This is very important. Muhammad never said, take the Quran from Uthman bin Affan. Muhammad never said, take the Quran from Uthman bin Affan. And yet his Quran is the one that everybody has today. Muhammad never said to do that. Muhammad never said, take the Quran from Zayd ibn Thabit. The Quran never said, Muhammad never said, take it from Zayd ibn Thabit. But he did say, take it from Ubay ibn Kaab. He did say, take it from Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Well, Abdullah bin Mas'ud said, no, I don't want these three surahs, throw them away. And Ubay ibn Kaab said, I want these two surahs too. These are my two pet surahs, and I want to have them in the Quran. So the ones that Muhammad said, take it from them, Muslims did not obey him. But the one that Muhammad didn't say nothing about, they obeyed him, Uthman bin Affan. Okay, and that's why today Muslims read Uthman's Quran, even though Muhammad never said to do that. So it just shows you the confusion. Hello, YP. God bless you, man. God bless Indonesia. And so, Muhammad never said, take the Quran from Uthman and Zayd. He never said that, but he did say, take it from Abdullah and Ubay. Muslims don't take it from Abdullah and Ubay. They do take it from Uthman and Zayd, which shows you Muslims don't obey Muhammad, which is fine. Which is fine. He said a lot of crazy stuff. And I'm glad Muslims don't obey him, but don't say that you do obey him, because you don't. Okay, here, see. Okay. This seals the deal. Uthman bin Affan himself recited the words of the prayers, and yet we do not find them in the manuscripts prepared under his authority. Is it not enough evidence that merely recitation in the prayers does not mean the companions considered it a part of the Quran? Sure, that's great. But why did Ubay put it in the Quran? Your question is great. The answer is sure. It does. Like this person says. Okay, is it not enough evidence that merely recitation in the prayers does not mean the companions considered it part of the Quran? Sure, you're absolutely right. But why did the top companion say it does belong in the Quran? Why did Ubay ibn Kaab say they do belong in the Quran? Muhammad said take the Quran from him, and he said they do belong in the Quran. So, it's a huge problem. It's a huge, enormous problem. It's just like this endless headache. Okay. And there's no solution to it. Okay. Umar bin Khattab, okay. It seals whatever. Okay. Companions considered it part. Okay. As already shown, it was only a supplication taught to the prophet by Gabriel, and in turn the companions by the prophet. It has already been shown. So this guy is saying, see, it's absolutely clear. This was just a prayer. These two surahs were just prayers. And then I come back with the question, well, then why did Ubay put it in his Quran? How come Ubay, the one who spoke to Muhammad and knew Muhammad personally, why did he say they are part of the Quran? I can tell me, all the other companions said no. But the problem is, Ubay said yes. And he's the number one man. The top man said they were part. Okay. So Uthman, Ubay said, yep, it belongs. So, I want to read this again and just say, as already shown, it was only a supplication, a prayer taught by the prophet to the prophet by Gabriel, and in turn to the companions by the prophet himself. Okay, as already shown, clear, 100% great, wonderful. You're absolutely awesome. That's great. I agree with you. But the problem is, there's just a little problem. The little problem is that the top man, the number one guy that Muhammad recommended, said they are in the Quran. The top man is Ubay. He's the number one guy. He's the master of reciters, according to Muhammad. He said they belong in the Quran. So no matter what you say, you got a problem. The problem is Ubay said they belong in the Quran. So no matter what you say, whatever gymnastics you do, and just judging by yesterday, what's interesting is if you look in the Bible, if you look at the end of the book of Revelation, it says, if any man adds any words to the prophecy of this book, the curses, the plagues in this book will be added to him. And if anybody takes away from any of the words of this book, his name will be taken out of the book of life. So the Bible in the book of Revelation deals with both problems, adding words and taking away words. But Ubay added words, Abdullah took away words, supposedly. So who's right? And Muhammad recommended them. He recommended Abdullah and he recommended Ubay. So what is the Muslim to do? Go with the one that Muhammad did not recommend? Go with Uthman, who was not recommended by Muhammad, who was resisted by the mother of the believers, Aisha? Go with Zayd, the Jewish Zayd, even though Ubay was Jewish. Go with them, even though Muhammad never said to go with them, and disobey Muhammad. That's the predicament. That's the dilemma that Muslims find themselves in, because, that's the dilemma that they find themselves in, because, one took away words, one added words. Okay, one took away words, one added words, just like the book of Revelation says. Okay, and so Muslims are stuck. They're stuck with Uthman's Quran. Muhammad never said take it from Uthman. Muhammad never said take it from Zayd, but they did. And today's Quran is from Zayd and Uthman, not from the ones that Muhammad recommended, which is Abdullah and Ubay. So Ubay, with his 116 chapters, is the one that Muhammad recommended, but Muslims don't want what his. They want Uthman and Zid's. Okay, so why did Ubay write them in his Mus'haf? Even though it was written in the Mus'haf of Ubay, it does not signify that to him the words were part of the actual text of the Quran. Really? Really? What? That I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I think you're lying. I think you're lying. I think whoever wrote this, you're lying. Listen to what he says. Even though it was written in the Mus'haf of Ubay, it does not signify that to him the words were part of the actual text of the Quran. Really? Give me a break, man. I mean, please don't insult my intelligence, man. He put it in his Quran. He wrote it in his Quran. You mean with all the strict rules about the perfect preservation of the Quran, and you think Ubay, the master reciter, didn't know? Are you saying that the master reciter didn't know that he wasn't supposed to put them in his Quran? Or he knew they weren't supposed to be in the Quran, but he put them in anyway? Oh, come on. You can do better than that. That was really ingenious, though. Okay. That was but that was I don't tell you the truth, I take that back. It wasn't ingenious. It's pathetic. It's so pathetic. I can't believe that I mean, that's not even mental gymnastics. I mean, yesterday's gymnastics were better than today's. That is really pathetic. In fact, it's so pathetic, I want to read it again. So, even though it was written in the Mus'haf of Ubay, it does not signify that to him the words were part of the actual text of the Quran. Oh my goodness. Give me a break. Give me a break. Yeah, so. All right. And you guys, this is from a website. Let me see if I can get the name of the website here for you. So if you wanted to look at it yourself, and then it's icraa.org. Let me see what this means. I think it's IslamicAA.org. This is it's let me see if I can. This is Total Islamic. Okay. It says Islamic Center for you know what? It's so small I can't read. I can't read what it's saying, but it's an Islamic organization called ICRAA. Okay. So but that's pretty pathetic. That is pretty pathetic. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's go back to we don't have that much more, you guys, but I just wanted to complete this series here before we moved on. I see. Yes. Okay. Why did Ubay write them in the Mus'haf? Even though it was written in the Mus'haf of Ubay, it does not signify. Yes, it does signify that to him the words were part of the actual text. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay. Muhammad Abdul Azim Zurkani wrote in 1367. So this would be 1,400 years after Muhammad, almost. Okay, this is a few years ago. Some of the companions who used to write Quran in one or more personal copies at times wrote therein what was not from the Quran. Really? Really? Someone 1,400 years after Muhammad can say that? After Ubay was called the master reciter, the number one guy that Muhammad commanded you to take the Quran from him, And now you're saying that he was mistaken because he doesn't have the Quran that you have today? Wow, you guys really throwing this guy under the bus, you know? Um, they wrote therein what was not from the Quran. You mean the guy who spoke to Muhammad personally is in the hadith so many times, is the master reciter according to Muhammad, and this guy here is saying that he put stuff in his Quran that wasn't originally from the Quran? Give me a break. You see, guys, these are the gymnastics. This is when you're trying to justify, and a lot of people are just going to accept it and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. If you're a Muslim, you should leave Islam because of this. If you're a Muslim, you should leave Islam because of this, because they lied to you. They told you the Quran is perfect and nothing, not one tiny letter is wrong. Okay. But here you have the number one man adding 2 surahs to it. Or Uthman took 2 surahs out. Uthman, who was not recommended by Muhammad, Uthman, whose brother Muhammad wanted to kill, uh, and who Aisha fought, and who was killed for what he did to the Quran. You guys are obeying him rather than Muhammad. So it included the interpretation of what was difficult to them from the meaning of the Quran. Okay, so he's saying that some of these surahs, these extra surahs, what they do are they are part of the interpretation of what was difficult to understand from the meaning of the Quran. And supplications similar to the supplications in the Quran that could be recited in the prayers at time of Qanut. And they knew such was not by itself Quran. They did? Really? This guy's making this, they're making a big conclusion. They're saying they knew it didn't belong in the Quran. Well, that leaves me with one question. Actually, leaves me with 10 questions. But the big question is, if he knew it didn't belong in the Quran, then why did he write it in the Quran? If he knew it didn't belong in the Quran, why did he write it in the Quran? So much so that to this day we know that he had 116 surahs. It was such a big deal that to this day we know that he had 2 extra surahs. And look at this pathetic explanation. They knew that it didn't belong in the Quran. Are you kidding me? This guy knew Muhammad. He knew how dangerous it was to add or take away words from the Quran, and he put it in his Quran, and he knew it didn't belong there. That's a pathetic excuse. Okay, very pathetic. And they knew such was not itself the Quran, but for the dearth of writing tools. But the dearth of writing tools. I don't know if you guys were here the other day when I was talking about the fact that there's surahs in the Quran that are called a surah in the Quran is called Isra. You know, Isra is but there's another name for that surah, Isra. It's also sons of Israel. Sons of Israel, you know. And so what I said, and I was joking, I said, you know what, the reason they wrote it Isra instead of Israel is because they ran out of ink. They didn't have enough ink, and so they were unable to put the EL, and so they called it Isra instead of Israel. Okay, that's what this guy is saying. A dearth of writing tools. Dearth means that there was a lack. They didn't have enough writing tools. And so because of that, they added 2 surahs to the Quran. Oh, man, it's so pathetic, man. I meant it as a joke. But this guy's serious. This guy is serious. He's saying this. It's serious. For the dearth of writing tools. Come on, give me a break. Okay, that because of that, I'm going to look for 577. Let me see if I have it. Let me see if I have 577 here. Okay. Let me see if I have it here. Okay. The dearth of writing tools. Okay, shoot. Trying to see if I had that. That's pretty funny, man. The dearth of writing tools. I mean, that means that they ran out of ink. Essentially, they ran out of ink, and that's why they had to include these. That's funny, man. It shows you, man. Islam will put you into this, twist you into this pickle, this pretzel, you know, because there's just no explanation for this stuff. Okay, let's see if I can have 76. I don't have 77, but I have 78. Okay. Umar bin Khattab used to recite this in prayers, and the messenger, peace and blessings, taught it to Ali to recite in his prayers. Yes, this is true, but it's not that it was from the Quran. Rather, it is supplication to Allah. Well, okay, that's great. Fine, wonderful. Why did the master reciter, the number one guy, put it in his Quran? I mean, you're not getting out of it. You can't get out of it. Why did the master reciter, Muhammad's number one man, why did he put it in his Quran? You can say, oh, till you're blue in the face, say it didn't belong in the Quran. It didn't. It wasn't part. It was just a prayer. It was whatever you say. Why did Ubay put it in? There's no way out of it. Okay. Words of these two alleged surahs are part of the prayer. The messenger used to supplicate with them and taught them to Umar, Ali, and others of the companions. May Allah be pleased with them all. They all used to beseech Allah with these words, and the Muslims heard and repeated them and mentioned it in the books. That's great. That's absolutely wonderful. Why did Ubay put it in the Quran? Why did Ubay, who is the master reciter, put it in his Quran? And why did Uthman not put it in his Quran? When Muhammad said you're supposed to take it from Ubay. You're stuck with this. It's a headache. It is narrated by Atta that when Uthman had the Quran written in the Mus'haf, he sent for Ubay. So he dictated the text to Zayd bin Thabit. Zayd wrote it, and with him was Sa'id bin al-As, who perfected its form. That means he changed it. This standard Mus'haf was according to the recitation of Ubay and Zayd. So clearly the Mus'haf that we recite today, which includes 114, was dictated by Ubay and is according to his recitation. This destroys even the remotest idea of the Quran, according to him, having something additional. Really? Really? Come on. Then why does all these other hadiths say that there were 116 surahs in Ubay's Quran? Why does it say that? Why does it say that? Why even bring it up then? Why even bring it up? Why is it in your books? It's in your books. You can't get rid of it. It's in your books. You can't get rid of it. Okay. Okay. This is now we're back to. There's something coming up. Oh, babe. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Okay, guys. All right. So anyway, let me look at the final. Let me just read to you the final things about this. They agreed with Ibn Mas'ud and disagreed with Zayd on much of the codex of the Quran. Do you hear that? Ubay agreed with Ibn Abdullah bin Mas'ud, who had 111 surahs, and disagreed with Zayd, who came up with the 114 surahs, on much of the codex of the Quran. And then it says Ibn Mas'ud omitted 2 surahs, 113 and 114. He omitted 3 surahs. Ubay included 2 extra surahs. Okay. So Ubay Ibn Kaab, okay, is one of the 4. Okay, Sayyid al-Qura, the master, the #1 reciter. It is narrated from Atta that went, okay, I think I may have read this already. Okay. 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 Used to write. Okay. Thank you, baby. All right, you guys. So anyway, just wanted to okay, let's see what Truth Defense said. By the male and female, Abu Darda said, I testify that I heard the Prophet reciting it likewise. By these people want me to recite it. Yeah. It just shows you guys that Tiger says hi, babe. She just bought coffee, so for tomorrow. Yes, it is, Mr. Deckard, a desperate move. A desperate move. And you know, it's like it just shows you that this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And you know what else? This is unrelated to this particular topic, but I just want to tell you that you know, there's that relative of mine who keeps sending me Islamic stuff because she wants to get me back to Islam. Well, and she sent me this little video with this guy talking about how beautiful Allah is and his name is beautiful, merciful, and all this. And then I wrote, his name is the best of deceivers in Arabic. And then she says, there's no word for how rude you are. And you know what it made me think, though, when she said that? It's like she understood what khair al-makirin means. And it is so bad. It is so bad that she said, there's no word to describe how rude I was to say that. Well, then I told her, well, it is bad, no question about it, but it's in the Quran, chapter 354. That's a quote from the Quran, and I haven't heard from her since. But you know the way she reacted, you know, it kind of blew all the smoke off, you know, of all the English translations and all the that he's the best of planners and best of plotters or whatever, that it means. No, it means best of deceivers, like Ayatollah Khomeini said. Like Ayatollah Khomeini says. Ayatollah Khomeini translated it correctly. Okay. And so, you know, just the way she reacted made me realize, oh, it does mean all this. And I mean, I knew it did, but they lie about it so much that tell you that it means best of planners and all this stuff. And for so many years, you hear that. And then you think, oh, you know, maybe it's not as bad. The way she reacted told me it is that bad. It is that bad. And so don't stop using that. Best of deceivers. You should keep using it. So, okay. Could you tell us, Truth Defender, what that hadith says? Just because, you know what, I don't think that those numbers work with Sunnah.com. Let me see if it does. Because Sunnah.com, oh, about standardizing the Quran. Yes, about Uthman and how they changed it, how he told them to change it to make it into perfect Qurayshi Arabic, meaning he told them to change it. So, yep. All right, you guys. Well, I wanted to complete this series talking about both. Yes, Tiger. You see, some people go through the whole episode without even mentioning Pinky. That Tiger never does that. Tiger is very sympathetic and compassionate. He always cares about Pinky. And so, so yeah. You know what's funny is that nobody said anything about Pinky yesterday, but he was dangling here upside down. And so, my wife did. Yeah. Well, there were some issues. There were things going on in his life, and he's. I'll be honest with you guys. He's really been offended, and maybe I could even say hurt by what he's seeing from the Democrats right now with the election, and so it's causing him a little bit of confusion. If I'll just be honest with you guys. And so, yeah, so today I decided to, give him the perch on the microphone. So, huh? Pinky is he's staring. He's staring at Ida, you guys. Oh, he's staring at me. All right, you guys. Well, I don't know if that Muslim guy who came yesterday, Mahmoud. Well, I bet he's Turkish, because the Turks changed the Arabic names a little bit, and so I wonder if he came today. Okay, standardizing the Quran. The people were waging war to conquer Armenia, and Azerbaijan. Hudayfa was afraid of their people, of the people of Sham and Iraq. Differences in the recitation of the Quran. So he said, Uthman, O chief of the believers, save the nation before they differ about the book. So Uthman sent a message, send us the manuscripts of the Quran so we may compile it. Compile the Quranic materials into perfect copies and return the manuscripts to you. Hafsa sent Uthman, and he ordered Zayd ibn Thabit, Abdullah bin Zubair. Okay, he became a caliph, by the way, Abdullah bin Zubair. Sa'id bin al-As and Abdurrahman bin Harith bin Hisham to rewrite the manuscript in perfect copies. Uthman said to the three Qurayshi men, in case you disagree with Zayd ibn Thabit on any point in the Quran, then write it in the dialect of the Quraysh, which means change it. That means change it. Uthman told them to change it, make it Qurayshi. If it's a little bit, and how many languages are in the Quran? There's so many different languages. There's Aramaic, there's Syriac, there's all these different words. And so he had to correct them to make them into Qurayshi dialect. So they did so, and when they had written many copies, Uthman returned the original manuscripts to Hafsa. Uthman sent to every Muslim province a copy of what they had copied, and all the other copies of the Quranic materials and fragmentary manuscripts, or whole copies, He burned. Ya Uthman. They ended up killing him because of this. So, yep. So that's the story of the perfect preservation of the Quran. Yes. Yeah, yes, Tiger. That is, it was election related. And so 200 non-Arabic words in the Arabic Quran. Yeah. There's a lot of words, you read them and it's like Isra, Asra. I don't think that's an Arabic word, Isra. I've never used it, But all right, you guys. Well, I made it exactly to an hour. So I think that's good enough for tonight. And if we don't have any Muslims who want to come on, I was kind of hoping that Mahmoud guy would come on. But maybe tomorrow, hopefully. So thanks for hanging out. And if you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. يسوع ساعدني. يسوع سامحني. يسوع ادخل قلبي. We love you, but much more important, he loves you. Have a great
If you have ever wondered why dull apologists lie so much, it's because on a rare occasion that they tell the truth, this happens.
One of the reasons I accepted Islam was the scientific miracles. I'll be honest with you. And now we know that this whole scientific miracles was absolute nonsense.
You're going to that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.